What's going on, everybody? I've got James and Nabil here with me again. Not as always, but as usual. How's it going, guys?
Good, coming from the bottom of our respective divisions, ready to have some fun.
All right.
Woot woot.
Okay. Yeah, let's take a look at the league standings anyway. Well, yeah, how you guys been? It's been way too long since we've actually caught up and done one of these. I think we might have done one post draft. I'm not sure if we did or not. But it's now we are into week 5. Yeah, what's been going on like in your lives since then?
I think we probably all say that we've all been really busy because
Mhm.
I think deep down we've been wanting to talk to each other and do the recaps of week 1 and everything else. But yeah, just I personally have been hosting people in my apartment, so I've had like little to no time. But I'm glad to have some time now. And then with fantasy football, I'm just frustrated looking at myself at the bottom of my division, as James also said, and but looking at each of my losses and being like, it could have been just this little other twist or tweak in my roster. And oh well, it is fantasy football.
It is fantasy. Yeah. James, how about you?
Yeah, I feel like same boat. It's been like back to back weekends of like family visiting or friends visiting or going somewhere. So looking to hopefully have more time to pull myself out from this unsatisfactory start, and really wish I didn't go kind of all in on the Falcons. What a bad team to have the tight end and WR1 for.
Yeah, not the best receiving combo, although yeah, no, I don't think it's the worst one out there, but it's not. It might be the worst that was thought to be fantasy viable. For me, I moved. I'm not sure if either one of you know that. I know some people in the league, but I am back in the beautiful town of San Luis Obispo.
Hey,
and
Nice.
Yeah, I am in a little 1-bedroom apartment up by the high school, all by myself.
you didn't want to move into the jungle?
No, I did not. There is not a college kid within a quarter mile of me, and I'm okay with that. I'm more than
Nice.
okay with that. Yeah. So yeah, I moved, which is part of why I was not also trying to push to get us all back together. And this is not my day job, as much as I wish it was. Someday maybe, though, we should actually turn making a fantasy podcast network into our day jobs. That'd be pretty great. But currently not an option. Let's start like we always do too, though, with some Niners talk. How excited are you, Nabil? I'm going to give you the floor for this Sunday's football game.
It is the beginning of a new era. Jimmy Go not so good Apollo is not playing. Thank you. Trey Lance is in. New era. Let's do this.
James.
Beat that.
Yeah, I think I'm excited to see the game script designed for him after he looked all right second half of the Seahawks game, but a whole week of practice with the ones. And I think it's interesting that Jimmy's pushing so hard to play, even though he's still injured, because I think there is that fear if he doesn't play this week, he might not play. He might not start another game. Yeah, I'm just like I'm not holding anything back. I'm excited. I hope he just lights it up, even though I know realistically it might be a rough game.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I hope he does too. I mean, I know I've been a Jimmy stan from the beginning, but I will also just fall back on. I want the 49ers to win as many football games as possible. Like I hope he lights it up as well. Like let's go. I mean, I don't know that he will, but I sure hope that he does. I think more importantly for the Niners this on Sunday, though, is going to have to be to stop Kyler Murray. Like that's such a bigger issue than the quarterback play for me. Like the Niners defense has been inconsistent at best over the last 4 games. And they need to figure out a way to stop Kyler Murray. And I'm just going to have nightmares of mobile quarterbacks in the division forever and ever, apparently, because even though Wilson goes down, we still got Murray to contend with. And like, it's a super important game. Like if the Niners lose, they fall 3 games behind Arizona for the division. And that Like it's only October, so it's not like it's completely done, but really can't expect to go win a division title when you have lost to multiple division opponents and you're 2-3 and someone's 5-0 in the division. So they got to win. They got to find a way to win.
Yeah. And I mean, to that point, I think going in with my expectations, like I'm not going thinking like, if we don't get a W, I'm going to be pissed. We blew up the draft. Like, what are we doing? Like, I actually think I will actually be tempering my expectations a little bit when it comes to at least leaving with the dub.
Yeah.
But to James's point, I think why Trey Lance didn't obviously maybe look as sharp as we would have maybe preferred, but it was because the game plan was for Jimmy, right? And so now Kyle gets to completely put together, we're on a first name basis, put together a game plan that is specific to Trey Lance, and he now gets to play with his brand new toy, right? So if we want to run more read options, and we have someone who's mobile, who can run, whose talent is, on the ground is maybe comparable to people like Kyler Murray, or even to some extent Lamar Jackson, or maybe as old as like Kaepernick. I've seen his runs, and he kind of has those like long strides that like bring back all those good memories of running against the Packers. Like I'm excited to see what this, what this season looks like and what Shanahan can do with a new toy that no one knows. That's the other part, right? No one's seen him play for a season, so there's not many notes, which I think is good for us, at least as he develops.
Yeah, I think it was just like a breath of fresh air the second half of last game of like getting outside the pocket. It was like, oh shit, he's really fast compared to just like if the ball's not out in 1.75 seconds, you're like, oh no. So yeah, just excited.
Yeah, I will say early on in the season, Jimmy did look a lot more mobile. It's now that it's the third different season where his legs apparently are made of glass and paper mache. Like it's clear that like he's just not built to take hits. And there's some people who just are like that. Like he is more injury prone, I think, than most. I kind of wonder if he hurt his calf on that play where they did the double pass throwback, when he actually made an incredible leaping catch to snag that ball from going, basically backwards out of bounds for a 10-yard loss. And then, that just threw the timing off on the play. So I'm bummed that it didn't turn into a big gain, but I hope that was the kind of play that didn't hurt Jimmy. But again, if it did, that's not really, it's like, dude, like how his body's just not designed, or not designed, but not able to take the kind of stress of a football game. Like if that's the case, then yeah, like I'm excited for Trey Lance, and let's see if it's if that play can be more consistent, or at least the ability to make that explosive play, whether it's the arm or legs, is going to be a lot nicer to have. Potentially, we'll see. We'll see if he can. If Lance could also do all the things that I think Garoppolo does well, which is manage the run game and hit those little like 4-yard, 5-yard out passes or in cutting routes. The Niners are one of the top teams in yards after catch for a reason. Like those quick little get it out in 1.5 second passes, like those work. Like the West Coast offense has worked for a long time, and Jimmy's done that well. So if Lance can do that just as well, then it's a no-brainer that he's the right guy to go on. So yeah, I'm excited. Nabil, I think I maybe not expecting the win, but we need it. We need it in order for the
100%.
Yeah, like it's expectation is not that we're going to win, but man, it's going to be a lot more fun to watch the rest of the division race play out if we're 3-2.
Right. But I think my bigger point on that was like, okay, yeah, I want it for the Niners,
right?
But specifically for Trey Lance, right? I'm not holding
that's
that
fair.
I'll make that clear.
That's fair.
And to get like a little wild here, because we were talking about Ben Roethlisberger.
Mm-hmm.
I like where this is going.
Before, like, look, they have 3 wide receivers who are all talented. One who's gotten very buried on their depth chart.
Mm-hmm.
Ayuk, a little bit of a disappointment. We can definitely say that right now. What if it's a trade for Jimmy to the Steelers and we receive maybe a wide receiver or other places that we need help on, right? Because the Steelers do have a solid defense, so there's definitely options we can look at there. But what are your thoughts? Anything? Can we?
Do the
can we
Steelers have a
anyone?
cornerback? Like, I honestly don't know. Like, if they have,
I guess that's the
cornerback, like,
point.
if they
Yeah.
have a cornerback, then like let's make them, because I think I believe Kyle is telling the truth that Ayuk is just kind of getting warmed up and like is coming off the injury. Like, we're getting him the ball in certain situations. You know, they've ran sweeps for him. So I don't think Ayuk is going to disappear forever. I'd way rather, if there's some sort of cornerback, and I don't know, then yeah, I'm okay with that type of trade. And I think it helps Pittsburgh too.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing. I'm only thinking fantasy in my head here. Obviously, our secondary has, honestly been our biggest issue for a long time. And when we had Richard Sherman, it was helpful, but it's always been what most opponents can pick on us on. So,
Yeah, I think they go to just get some picks. If they can get a first rounder anywhere, they go for it. And yeah, I don't want to see Deontay Johnson play another snap. I just am so tired of like third. Oh, damn it. He's on Devontae Adams. Why are we doing this?
Yeah, I don't know what the solution is to fix the secondary, but it feels like it has to be a total reset, rebuild. But I don't know. You can't completely change an entire position group when you're still in your championship window and expect that to be a good thing. But like, even good teams got to get better somehow. So I don't know. I'm with you though, James. I'm tired of like
dealing Jimmy or like, changing up parts of our secondary. I mean, ideally that gives us more salary cap for the following year so we can spend in free agency, because that's the other thing. I don't think we've necessarily or everyone we pulled in as a free agent is kind of coming off the prove it year after a big injury, right? I can't remember who's our
Brett.
starting quarter right now, right? Like Brett was from the Chargers, kind of the same thing. Same with Richard Sherman when we got him. I'm ready for someone who maybe is a little more durable.
Yeah. And you got Bosa and Debo and McGlinchey's extensions all coming up.
Right. It's gonna be hard to keep the crew together and go get top talent. Like it's just at that time. But Garoppolo has a huge salary if we can dump that. But and that's also, we should not be getting rid of Jimmy until Lance has multiple games in a row where he clearly looks like he's like we got. And we're paid to we're not paid to be general managers of an NFL team. We like to pretend that we're general managers of a fantasy football team, so we don't know what the hell we're doing anyway.
Amen.
But yeah, let's talk a little bit about our fake football league, shall we? Let's start with you, James. First reaction so far through 4 weeks. I mean, obviously your own team at the bottom of the division, not the best start for you, but what are you looking at? As far as like your first takes on the league in general, or your team through 4 weeks.
Yeah, I think first of all, I'm just never gonna talk ill on Travis ever again. It's bit me in the ass every time I've done it, and he won last year and is looking good again this year. So draft every Arizona wide receiver and just win the league again and again. But in general, I feel like this year has been just like through 4 weeks, there's already quite a few players who are expected to do well and are not injured, but are just not performing well. And like players who 6th to 8th rounders who are like Cooper Kupp is lighting it up. So it's been a lot of fun of seeing which teams I was really nervous about not performing well, and teams, including myself, who I thought were doing set up pretty well for success, struggling, particularly the tight end position. I feel like there's just a lot of like underperformers and overperformers in this position where we all like rule 9 and went after guys. It was like 3 different points. So
but on the last one, it's like every year we learn. It's like we think we know so much going into the season, and we don't. We really don't know what's going to actually happen. So I feel that a lot. Nabil, you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, actually, for that point specifically, especially this year, right? Like I've been plagued from maybe being almost too patient, like following experts like advice of, hey, go later on a quarterback, go later on a tight end in depth. And stuff in the draft just didn't necessarily fall my way of when I was ready to pick and someone just like grabbed their second quarterback kind of thing. So I was dealing with that. So I thought, oh, all right, whatever, I'll deal with it. But what I learned, at least from this, is maybe it is kind of more important to start grabbing who you know who are the studs because of how much of a deficit it leaves you for each week, right? Um, and, and with that, like even they could underperform. And I think that has hurt people. But I've been trying to scavenge everyone who I can find. And luckily, I did finally land on Sam Darnold, and I just picked up Daniel Jones of just like, okay, I need to at least potentially ride these waves of glory for them into potential wins for me, because those are huge when it comes to your quarterback. If you're not putting up a quarterback who can get into the double digits, my first 2 weeks didn't have a quarterback who did that. And you don't have a tight end who I'm usually content with an 8-point tight end. And so far, Jonnu Smith has fit there. But like, if you're going to win weeks, you're then only relying on your skill positions of wide receiver and running back. And sometimes they have bad weeks. So if you don't have a tight end that can ever break that double digit mold, then that's going to hurt. But my actual point, not my follow up to James, is that yet again, and maybe we're all finally getting it. This is, I feel, the tightest start we've ever had.
Yeah.
Where you're either 3-1 or 1-3. And yes, it's 4 games. So maybe the probability of that was higher, but we don't have an undefeated team. And to me, that is interesting to see that there isn't someone who's just coming out here and dominating. We're all maybe finally having some parity throughout the league. And I'm excited to see where it goes, because even though I'm a 1-3, I really do believe that there are at least 2 games that could have gone my way, and they didn't. And for that reason, it's just like I want to see where we look at eight weeks from now. Are we having another one of those seasons where everyone is close?
I feel like to respond to that, I think so. I mean, I know I've changed my logo to be, here lies Squidward's hopes and dreams, but that's mostly because my team is beat up, but like I still lead the league in points. Like I had like such a good week 1 and 2 that like, I'm not really out of it. I just don't think I have like my current roster healthy is not going to win a title by any means. Hopefully Gronk can come back. Hopefully, Russ can be healthy. So I have a couple options down the stretch. Hopefully my running back situation stays healthy. My wide receiver, like literally at every position I've had players out for a game. I feel like there's been a lot of talk on that throughout the league. And I do want to get to that later, but the league is tight. Like just because someone scores a bunch of points 1 week doesn't means nothing, it seems like, for the next week. Right now Kevin's team at 1-3, only 414 points is in last place. It's kind of like the only roster that really doesn't like that got decimated, and he got the losses where I don't feel like Kevin's really in contention for a playoff spot, but like the 11 other players in the league are. So yeah, that's definitely like I feel like, and again, we do say that I feel like we've said this the last couple of years, but as a league, we've done really well. We're pretty balanced, and it's going to be exciting going down the stretch.
Yeah, and the divisions, I love it. I think it's so fun. Like it forced me to make a move this week because I'm playing Devin, and I'm like, all right, I'm 0-2 in my division. And each week I'm looking at the matchups, and I think it used to be kind of like, all right, I want the guys who are a win ahead of me to lose, and I want the guys like a win behind me to lose. And now it's like, all right, Nabil and Chris, I need you to beat Hunter and Travis. And if I beat that, like, it's just so much more attention to like moves and matchups week to week than it is kind of just paying attention to it closer to the playoff push.
Yeah, how the division's working out for you, Nabil? You thinking you liking it? Because again, we can always scrap it after 1 year if we don't. But I'm more in the same wavelength as James. Like I'm enjoying the like extra wrinkles that divisions throw in. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think we're only 4 games in. So in reality, having felt what the impact of divisions, we haven't even gotten to a point where it is necessarily coming into play, except for, again, we had a little bit of a pre-recording conversation about like, I'm still like, do I trade internally within my division if I do believe it benefits me? And right now I'm still riding because in the end, if I think that is my one missing piece and I can run the board otherwise because of that, then why not? Who cares if it's with whether it's with Ryan, Spencer, or Antonio. But no, so far I really like it. I think I've always been on board with divisions. I think I want to see what we do after it. And that's why I still think we want to develop some legacy within each division. And we can go into that's another offseason discussion probably. But like I like it so far because there is this little bit of a rivalry, right? Like, I think I also have a division game this week, or do we all have division games this week? I'm still learning that part.
I think you're both playing my division opponents.
Yeah. The way that the schedule worked out, just to kind of, in case this wasn't clear, I was trying to get it so that it would do all division matches in the first 3 weeks and then the last 3 weeks. And then I kept scrambling up the division schedule and realized that wasn't an option. And so I just wanted to make sure that like the last 3 weeks you'll play all your division opponents again. And if you look back at the league history, like I scrambled the divisions probably a dozen times, trying to get the schedule to be like close to okay, you're playing your division opponents in the first 3 weeks, last 3 weeks. I didn't have to move as much stuff around. What ended up happening is I scrapped that idea. Like, okay, that's not going to happen. We're just going to only make sure that the last 3 weeks are our division opponents. And the way it's kind of nifty how it works out. Because the schedule repeats, then the automatic schedule has the first 3 and last 3 weeks are your same opponents, right? So all I had to do was change the last 3 weeks to make a division matchups, and then you play everyone else once. Once I finally decided, like, okay, I'm not going to try to make it perfect. I hit the randomized schedule button. This is the last one, and then like all but like 3 division games got scheduled in the first 3 weeks. I was like, are you kidding me? So almost everyone has at least 2 division games except for Hoyt and Spencer. They're the only 2 who have not played more than 1 division game.
They play each other this week, right?
And they play each other this week, and it worked out. So like everyone within the first 5 weeks, it just happened to work out, is going to get multiple division games. You'll get your third at some point if you haven't played it already. I think by like week 9 or 10. And then the last 3 weeks of the season are going to be the gauntlet of, but that's what it should be. And honestly, and I have a friend.
Gut feeling I have a decent record, but they just lose to all my division.
but it'll keep everybody, I think, more likely to be able to climb and get that spot. If you go 3-0 down the stretch, and like you've got a chance to leapfrog anyone in your division at that point.
Yeah.
It's actually it's an extension of what a friend of mine who's also named Ryan that I used to work with, Hunter and Rocha know him pretty well. We've talked about how, the NFL, when they instituted the like only division matchups in the last week of the season rule, like that was great for football. And we've talked about how like you should play your division opponents the last 3 weeks. Like that would be a great, like, in real life football would be a great way to make sure that like everyone has meaningful games down the stretch. And then the other 3 times you play your division opponents just whenever during the season. I don't think the NFL will ever do that because there are lots of, they're always trying to make sure that there's at least 1 or 2 marquee games that are maybe cross divisional, cross conference, whatever, down the stretch every week. But it would be so much better competitive wise, I think, if the NFL took a page out of the Splatty League rule book and went with division matchups only in the last 3 weeks. But I digress.
You craft that email. Craft that email to Goddell.
Wait till Adam Silver gets a hold of my get rid of conferences, just make the NBA 5 regional divisions proposal, which we do not have time for to discuss that today, but we can talk about it offline if anyone's interested. Nabil, let's look at your match for this week. How you feel? Let's see, where are you? You got
going against Hunter. Wait,
Well,
but we
sounds
never
right.
got your observation. Do we? What is yours currently, or is it kind of been in line with
Oh,
Jalen?
just oh yeah. So my main observation on the just yes, this year has had a ton of injuries. It really has. I'm not gonna try to get on my soapbox about my thoughts on the injured reserve because obviously I've been we're not gonna add it in this year. We just expanded the roster last year. We're expanding. We have expanded the IR. I just want to say like expanding IR is not actually going to increase your ability to get good viable players at this point.
Yeah.
Our rosters are so deep that if I was able to stash 4 or 5 people on the IR last week, which I could have, that means that there are less viable players that are getting put back into the waiver pool, right? Like someone like Randall Cobb should not be stashed on like guaranteed to be like he should be potentially available for someone who needs like, okay, I need a receiver because everyone's down, like to grab out of free agency. The more IR slots you add, like yes, you might be thinking that you're giving an individual team more flexibility, but overall, like you're just saturating rosters then with viable players and not having anyone available on the waiver wire. Like I don't like adding more IR slots basically just it almost penalizes managers who have a healthy team a little bit more. And it doesn't actually do that, but I don't know that adding more IR slots is actually going to like help the situation of football players get hurt all the time and it's difficult to manage a fantasy roster. That's all. That's all I wanted to say because there have been a ton of injuries this year and my team's like if we look at the roster, it's as far as players who have missed at least a full game for me, like Eli Mitchell and Raheem Mostert, Marquise Brown has missed a whole game. Russell Wilson is going to miss 6 to 8 weeks. Claypool's missed a whole game. Josh Gordon missed the start of the season. T. Higgins missed a whole game. Rob Gronkowski is going to be out for a while. Chris Carson missed a whole game. And I also lost my kicker. I get it. There's a ton of injuries. There's a ton. I lost. Okay. Yeah. So there's a ton of injuries. Also, that was the most bullshit way to lose a kicker ever. Like I'm not mad at Robbie Gould for getting injured during warmups. I just would have liked to know before kickoff that he was injured, and I'll stop complaining about that too because that was annoying. But
as someone who was beating the drum for getting more IR spots, over the last 4 weeks I've been able to kind of see your point, and so I agree. Like I mean, I was someone who I have so many designations still, and I have people who are still on injury reserve to return and all this other stuff. And right now it's not as bad as it was in the beginning, but I totally get it. I think my only counter would be that if you are holding more viable players, it introduces the ability to trade more. That's kind of my thought there. However, a lot harder to feel comfortable about making trades about players you don't really like, who aren't the studs in the top 100 or whatever, than it is, if you're just trading more well-known players. But I get it. I actually think, some teams have been more affected this year than others, but maybe I am just going to finally just say, yeah, that's football. It's shitty, but you can recover. And if you really don't feel that confident in that person, maybe they're like already a bench player who's injured. Like maybe it's just time to cut that person and don't take up your IR spot. Keep your IR spot for potential keepers as opposed to just anyone who's injured. So I get your point. I think it's viable. And I was someone who was against it from week 1. So.
Yeah. James, any thoughts on the IR conversation?
Yeah, I think the keeper component as well. Like I like less IR spots. So if you're going to be someone who stashes someone on IR all year to retain their keeper rights, it's more of a drawback to your roster the whole year. Whereas the expanded IR spots, there's less of that pro con to consider. And I just love when someone goes down and everyone's bidding 50 to 60 fab and that person's on waivers compared to those people are all snatched up. I just love the weekly waiver grapple to get that $60 guy.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said about that as well. But ultimately, like we need to figure out we need to figure out what's best for the league. And I know sometimes I can come across as harsh, but it's like I'm trying to think of it from a league-wide perspective, where I think a lot of people, when they have issues they're bringing up, like it's very easy for you to just kind of be tunnel vision on your team and like how your team is fitting like fairly into the league. So that's why, like, I'm definitely open to hearing like that we still need to expand it. And look, if it's 9-3 or 10-2, and as far as like people thinking like we should expand IR, then like fine, like we'll go with it. But in my opinion, right now, it's not necessarily needed. Yeah, let's move on. Let's talk about your matchup though, Nabil. I've got it pulled up. Hunter obviously had a great start. Didn't had Cup or Henderson didn't blow up necessarily, but they put up the points that you would expect them to. So basically it's kind of a clean slate as far as your matchup goes, even though there's a couple players for Hunter already in. What are you looking into this? Like how, obviously you're the underdog. A big chunk of that comes from the quarterback position. Another big chunk of that comes from your flex. And the biggest chunk obviously comes from the tight end matchup. So a lot of things going against you, but what are you looking at? What are you hoping for as far as giving yourself a chance to win this week?
What am I hoping for? I'm hoping for a W, but
yeah, but no,
I know what you mean.
The how and the why, not just the what.
Yeah, no, I get it. No, I think right now this is a matchup that I'm a little more worried about, because I think overall I've always been within my projections have always been within like maybe six points or something. This is the first where I'm almost at 9. Well, I am at 19-ish. I don't know. I just got to hope that people who are doing the projections aren't always right, and that's what I have to sit at, right? Like Dalvin Cook, this could against Detroit, this if he's healthy, and I'm really hoping I don't get that last minute notification. I do use Fantasy Pros and I do have autopilot, so they'll automatically switch the player in for me. But a little plug there for them if they want to sponsor us eventually. And but he has a chance of like putting up one of those huge like 20-30 point games, because Detroit's trash. And Eckler has been pretty much out projecting. But this is probably the perfect week that he gets like 15, which I don't really want. So I don't know. I'm just hoping that people hit their projections. That's all I can ask, and just hope that the ones that the projections on Hunter's side are just way too high. Like Clyde's Edward, I'm just CEH. I can never say his full name. I just hope he doesn't hit 13. Like Buffalo's a great defense, and it might turn into a shootout both ways. And maybe he's just not catching the ball in the backfield. And that's what I can hope for, is maybe shave off 3 points there. Waller maybe doesn't have his most all-star game, puts on 13. Like, I'm just hoping I hope his players have good games, because I have some of those players in other leagues, but like in the end, I just hope he doesn't hit projection, and that's all I can do to win. And I'm still debating whether to play Hunt or Williams. And it's so annoying, because every time I put Hunt, and this happened from last year, if you remember, every time I put Hunt on my bench, he blows up. And then the one time I'm like, no, I'm riding the hot hand. He's going to go and he's going to put up that like 8 points. And I'm like, I don't need that right now. But I'm hoping I can get past this week. Hopefully I can get a W. If not, I do feel kind of confident moving forward through this year. I think I have enough running back depth to hopefully get through injuries and bye weeks. So once those bye weeks start hitting, I think that's where the league gets different. For this matchup, I'm just hoping that Hunter doesn't hit all his projections.
Yeah. James, thoughts on this matchup? I feel like Nabil pretty much hit everything I would have said too, but your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting if Williams, the Bears backup running back, how he looks. And it's a game against Waller. So just like if it's a shootout, if it's a ground and pound game, it's in Chicago. The local weather report is 60 degrees. Unfortunately, no sight of rain.
Yeah.
I'm pulling for you though, Nabil. Would really love for you to take down Hunter.
Yeah, that'd be nice for the league at least, and not let, because Hunter is looking like he could potentially start to run away with it if he ends up at 4-1. We're gonna come back to this. We're gonna do bold predictions at the end, and I've got a bold one for you. But let's look at your matchup as well, James. Where are we? Got Trey Lance Refrigeration versus the Pajamas. Another big one. Just both you sitting at 1-3, kind of definitely like need the win. Not necessarily as even of a start, since you got off to a great run with Woods on Thursday night. But James, what are you looking at as far as like what do you think you need to happen to hold on to the win here against Devin?
Yeah. I need Nick Chubb to get in the end zone. I'm a huge Nick Chubb fan and have him in multiple leagues and will defend him. I think he's just a great running back, but freaking Hunt takes a lot of his points and he gets touchdowns stolen from him. So if he could have just the production he's having, but scored twice, that would be huge. Made the move for Kelsey, traded 2 players, the 2-for-1, and needed to make a move to get a win in the division.
Yeah.
And am benching all Falcons players until they show any life, because really thought Ridley had a chance to be the WR1 going into the year, and it's just not looking good. So that mixed with, I think this is the week to be playing the team that has Kittle, because I'm not sure if he'll be a go or not.
Yeah, you've got an empty bench slot. Did you realize that?
I did.
Yeah, just making sure you knew.
Appreciate
Nabil,
it.
your thoughts on James and Devin's matchup?
Yeah, I'm gonna peel back the curtain just a bit. I had actually made a trade offer to James about Robert Woods, only because I listened to reports say that like McVay really wanted to feed Woods, and I'm just like, I need him this week because I have a big deficit. So I'm like, send a transit, and maybe me and James have another one in the works. But yeah, I think he got what he needed as far as an early start, right? Like anytime you're anyone just almost doubles their projections, that allows for some disappointing performances. You have a little bit more buffer there. And it's unfortunate for that same point, right? Like, well, Devin has the opposite. Devin dropped, Tyler Lockett didn't put up those extra 6 that he needed. Stafford 5 points lower. So like he's fighting, was that 11 points roughly? So like, that's huge. That's a huge hill for him to climb. Yes, he has Devontae Adams, which will probably against Cincinnati. Cincinnati will keep it close where they have to throw. I don't think it'll be a ground pounding. So then there's going to be a bunch of targets. Plus, I think like isn't MVS out, and he's going to be the only one who already is the vacuum for targets. Going to get more. Otherwise, James Robinson has turned it on. Sanders is like the one. Like I don't know what he should do there. Maybe it is switch Connor, because I think was it who's the other guy in
Drake? No, he's
no.
Chase Edmonds. Yeah.
Edmonton or whatever.
Sir Edmonton.
Sir Edmund. He should probably switch them, because I don't know. Sanders has just looked like, well, the Philly hasn't given him a shot, but like I think for him, he's just pulling himself out of a hole, and it should be a win for James, assuming Trey Lance doesn't just tank. And,
I know.
And you know, we were kind of joking about it with Hoyt in his message about who he should play. And while I'm all on board, let's play Lance, because he's gonna run. He's gonna have probably a solid
still 50 to 60 rush yards. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's like you can play it safe and just know that you're 11 points up on your opponent already, but should be a good one.
Yeah. Forgot to mention that.
James, I feel like you and I, as much as lots of other people have been using both IR slots, like you and I both have been feeling the injury bug quite a bit this year. Seeing that many O's and IRs is never fun on your roster. I will point out Devin's going to get a little bit of a projection bump once he takes Kittle out, or if Kittle plays, then that 1.9 is not going to be that. So it's a little bit closer, especially because I feel like the Adams projection at 22.7 is low. Cincinnati might be able to keep up with them offensively, but I just, again, running with MVS out, I see Rodgers absolutely picking apart Cincinnati with Adams potentially. Like, it feels like almost a guarantee that Adams is going to score a touchdown, especially when you look at, he's only found the end zone once this year. And Rodgers likes to feed his guys. Like if there's anything you know about like locker room stuff, like Rodgers is big on making sure guys hit their numbers for like incentive bonuses and stuff. And he's already going to see like, okay, if Adams is getting behind, like and they're up by 2 touchdowns against Cincinnati, like that doesn't mean they're going to run the ball. It's like, oh, like, well, let's feed the guy who hasn't scored, hasn't hit pay dirt as much as he should have. So the Adams projection feels low. So I do think this match is maybe a little bit closer than it is on paper. However, the Kelsey addition is huge. Lance is a huge wild card. Like that could be an awesome, if he rushes for a couple touchdowns, that could be big. And like you said, if Chubb finds the end zone, I think it'd be a touchdown. If you get a rushing touchdown out of Lance and Chubb and Kelsey finds the end zone, I don't see how you lose this one, James. But if they don't, Adams is going to put up a ton of points. If Kittle ends up being able to be healthy, could be interesting. Also, I got a feeling that the New England defense is gonna not necessarily score, but they're gonna.
There's a chance for 20 points there.
Yeah, there is.
Coming off a loss to Brady.
It's a very high ceiling playing against Houston. So it's definitely interested to see how this one all works out. And then let's take a peek at my
against Travis.
Playing against Travis, definitely an important one for me. Most points in the league versus first place in the league. I hate that he has Kyler Murray. Like I hate having to play against Kyler Murray on the same week playing the Niners. Like I hate it when someone goes off playing against me in fantasy while also playing against the Niners. It's just like the ultimate bummer of a game to watch. So I'm really hoping that doesn't go awry. But also just like, I think like you, James, like Henry needs to find the end zone for me. Like you said, like Derrick Henry needs to get like a 30-point game for me to have a shot. Like the 3 touchdown, 47-point outburst was so great.
God, your life is so hard with a guy who's almost scored 23 out of the 4 weeks. Oh,
I need him to, like, in order for me to have a shot, I need to win. And also hopefully I am not starting Aguilar because we get like, Claypool's lost his injury designation. So maybe make that slot in right now, or Higgins. I won't be starting Aguilar. I got to figure out who I throw in there. It's just about making the right decision. Part of me really even just wants to throw in Josh Gordon week 1. Like let's go. But we'll probably wait and see how the Sunday morning, afternoon games go before I make that slot change in the flex. But yeah, I think it's honestly more on how does Travis's team do. If he only puts up like 120, I got a shot. If Travis's team scores 140, like I know his team can, I don't think I have the firepower this week to catch up to him. Anyway, Nabil, what are you thinking?
Okay, so just looking at Travis's team, it is, first of all, he got lucky with not lucky. He got Cordell Patterson. Cordell Patterson is fantastic because you are literally sitting there with a wide receiver who has running back capabilities, who they are using as the running back. So now, not only are you given a pretty high floor, he can catch the ball. Didn't he have like an outstanding catch last week where he just went up and got it? And that's because he's a freaking wide receiver. And then if you give him anything with an open field, he's one of the best punt returners we've seen probably since now, why do I give myself these names that aren't? Yeah, Devin Hester. And it's like, okay, cool. Like that's an awesome person to have as a running back that he didn't intend. And I do think, and this is where I want to say, like, Travis is very good with whatever he has, right? Yes. We might sit there and laugh and make fun of picks or whatever, but in the end, whoever's on his team, he does make work. He won a championship last year. This is the respect that he wanted. So this is the last little bit I'm going to give him, is he knows how to do it. Because like when I look at his team, I don't see a team that necessarily is who I fear if I looked at like pre-draft ranks, right? I'm like, okay, cool. But in the end, he makes it work. And so this is like his starting roster is pretty good. Hunter Renfrow is going to have a solid floor. He's not going to be the guy, knock on wood, I guess, for Travis, that sits with 2 points, because he's probably going to catch at least 3 for maybe 25, right? So he'll be just short of 6.
He's a Gruden grinder. They'll
Yeah,
target him.
and Gruden, but he also like makes plays. That ever since Hard Knocks, that guy fucking is the
I
best.
love Hunter Renfro so
He's the
much.
best, dude. I told you, man, he's the Caruso of the NFL. I
Yes.
keep saying it. But in the end, I think Travis has some people that are like heavy hitters. And if Tyreek Hill has one of those games, which I think he hasn't, right? And Patterson just has another big game. Yeah, it's going to be difficult.
Well,
Okay, I
last
guess
week
his
he
last game
yeah.
was literally
He's boomer. He's been very boomer bust, which
has always been Tyreek Hill because they have so many people to feed.
yeah. I
Mhm.
mean, but you know, if he can get double-digit targets again, like I'm screwed. Like realistically, which is part of why like throwing in Josh Gordon like to like feels like a gamble, but especially going up against Tyreek Hill, like it's you know, if the Chiefs are rolling and then all of a sudden like you know Gordon's the one who gets the deep ball, like he might only have 2 targets or 2, you know, maybe 1 catch, but if that's an 80-yard touchdown pass, you know, then
And they've never really had like a possession receiver. They always have all these burners. And so like, who knows? Maybe it's the lotto ticket I've had in the past and it's never worked, but I'm hoping it works for you.
thank you, I appreciate that. It's really, you know, at this point with Gordon, I will this is the I know every year when he comes back, like, no, this time it's different. This is why it's different. This is absolutely why it's different. The NFL doesn't care about weed anymore.
That's true.
The NFL doesn't care about weed. The dude can smoke as much marijuana as he wants and not get in trouble. I
I think
think
he's under a good coach too, you know, like Andy Reid.
Oh,
It's
absolutely,
not like Andy Reid hasn't had a bad player under his belt, aka cough cough, Tyreek Hill. Like he's had problem players before and has been able to kind of turn them into something else. So.
As much as we say this,
I wouldn't play him though.
This is about as good of a situation for Josh Gordon as possible. I don't think there's any way I can start him week 1, but if he can, you know, snake a couple touchdown like or long routes even from Tyreek, I'm going to be absolutely overjoyed for him as a person. First of all, obviously he like Gordon's gone through a lot to get back to where he is, and I want to see him be successful. Like I think we all deserve to see peak Josh Gordon as football fans too, like just like at least one more time. Like the dude is an absolute animal on the field, and I'll be happy for him, and I would love to ride his coattails to another Splatty Bowl. James, any other thoughts on the matchup?
I think you can a little play between Boyd versus Higgins coming back. Little gamesmanship there potentially, and I mean Boyd's looked good, but I think Jamar Chase and Higgins are like easily the 1 and 2 ahead of him, and so if Higgins is a full go, that could be a big plus for you and a big minus for Travis.
It does.
He's doing it.
Yeah,
He's doing it.
He's
doing it. Yeah. I think this is the first time a roster has been altered during a podcast.
I think so. At least on screen for sure.
We need a trade to go through during the podcast.
Yeah.
Nabil and I were talking. Yeah, because
Nabil's talking to me too.
I know,
He's
but like
working
Nabil and I were
everything.
talking, there's definitely some. I mean, especially if Gordon actually turns into a viable fantasy player, like I've got too many receivers and no running backs, and Nabil has plenty of running backs potentially that we could find something that works. And
I also have plenty of receivers.
you do have plenty of receivers, which is why we'd have to make something work. You know, I'd have to give you a good receiver. I understand that, but
3-team trade. 3-team trade.
let's take that offline. I do want to keep these a little bit shorter than they've been in the past. So if you guys are ready, I've got a bold prediction.
All right.
I don't know if either one of you have one, but if you Nabil, are you ready to go with your bold prediction? Or
You know, sadly enough, I honestly forgot that was the thing we did. I do not have one right now.
All good. Well, here's mine, and my bold prediction is going to be on in Nabil's matchup here with Hunter. I think Sam Darnold's legit. Look at these numbers: 19, 18, 23, 33 fantasy points. Like he's throwing the ball 35 times a game and completing it at a clip that is legit. Only week 1 is the only time he didn't go over 300 yards. Like I think this is his breakout game. 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Carolina rolls over Philly, and Darnold has a huge game. and gets Nabil to win against Hunter.
Yes.
We're going, you know what? Yeah, 350 yards, 3 touchdowns for Darnold. How about that?
How many on the ground?
I don't know about his rushing ability. Let's
He has like 5.
I know.
No, he's leading the league.
Is he leading in rushing
touchdowns.
That's where I was pointing. I feel like I don't.
Because
Still not
Yahoo isn't
fast.
showing it. They're
Still
just
not-
showing his
yeah, 'cause
normal
He's still
quarterback stats.
He's not necessarily fast, but I'm saying it all comes in the air for old Sam. Let's see, what is his rushing aim log?
He's got like 6 or something. I think we were talking
He's
about
got 5 rushing touchdowns. Looks like, right? Starting in starting the regular season. Two each in the last couple of weeks. I think he gets it done in the air, and Darnold all of a sudden is going to become that guy in all the fantasy podcasts. It's like, oh yeah, like where's it? Like I'm going a week early. Sam Darnold, 350 yards, 3 touchdowns. Yeah, and you know what? Maybe he will get one on the ground. I'm not sure, but how great of a week would that be for you? But Sam Darnold goes off, gets Nabil to win against Hunter. That's my bold prediction.
Love it. Thank you.
I got 2.
Oh,
I'm gonna kind of write off that one. That has to come true for mine to then come true. But
right.
I think all 4 3-1 teams go down this week.
Whoa, okay. Let's take a look at the standings then.
Hoyt's got a chance to lose against Spencer. It's close. Drew's projected to lose to Antonio. And then I need you both to come through. It's doable.
That is it could happen. It's bold to predict that many games go that
14
way.
parlay.
14 the money line that pays out 10-1. I'd say there's a couple.
There we go.
Yeah, that counts as bold.
And then Trey Lance will be a top 3 QB this week, points wise.
love it.
Okay, love it. Nabil, do you get one?
No
yet?
bias.
I don't got one. Honestly, I'm gonna allow James to take my 2 there, or take one of the 2 there.
It's all good. Okay, cool. Well, yeah. Hey, apologies to all 3 of our fans that we hadn't had an episode come out in a while. But
It's Apple's fault. It's copyright on the podcast app. Apple's just so difficult to work with these days.
Exactly. But yeah, I got nothing else to say. Nabil, any final thoughts before we close it out?
Get back to a weekly pod, guys. That's it.
We'll get on it.
Let's do
James,
it.
any other thoughts?
Yeah, great to see you guys again. It's been too long.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm gonna stop the recording. Great seeing you guys as always, and take care, everybody.
Go Niners.
Peace out.